This is crazy. As I've just started filming the video and there was like nobody home, somehow my brother came in and interrupted the video, which is very interesting because this is exactly what I'm just about to tell you. The topic, as we know, is self-sabotaging and all the tendency and all the patterns and how do we recognize them. A couple of years ago, I took the decision to change my life. It was a very conscious decision. It was a decision that was coming from deep within me because I couldn't find happiness in anything I was doing. I couldn't find happiness and I couldn't relate to my professional life, to my relationship, personal life, to myself, to my friends. Somehow I could feel that people were doubting me for who I was. And there was a reason for it because I wasn't my authentic self. I wasn't showing up authentically for who I was. I told all my friends and all the people I was in contact with that I was going to take a step back. I was going to withdraw because I needed to find myself. I needed to find peace and I needed to find happiness because I knew that this was my responsibility. And my change in the whole process entailed in starting gym, reading all the books about self-help, about mindset, about understanding how energy works because we are energy and energy operates in a certain way. I was a few days in on that journey and I remember my mom asking me, "Are you still going to the gym?" And I asked her, "What do you mean? Am I still going?" Of course, I'm going. Like, where is that question coming from? And she replied, "Well, you always give up on things, so I'm just checking in. You're still doing it." And that came in as a huge slap. That was one. Number two, one of my friends at the time, we were meant to go for coffee, and I had told him, "Be here at 5, let's say." And when I asked him, "Why are you late? You were meant to be here 15 minutes ago." He replied, "Well, we're always late, so I knew you would be late too." And so those people who were my closest people at the time, they were mirroring back at me my old patterns. And the way they were relating to me was the way I was relating to myself. And it's that I would always give up on the things I say I would do. Why? Because that was an old pattern. It was an old subconscious programming of how I was showing up, of who I was, of how I was behaving. And so, a few months or maybe even a couple years in on that journey of healing and developing myself on an emotional and mental and physical and spiritual level, I was getting to know more and more of those patterns. But essentially, one of the things that I realized was that every time I was trying to take a bigger step than what I was ready for, I would be self-sabotaging. And it took me a while to recognize them because for most of those times, I would think that, "Oh, that's a sign of the universe that I shouldn't be doing it." Or, "Oh, that's a sign that I'm not ready yet." Or, "Oh, that's a sign that maybe the time is not just quite yet." And here is the thing that I can hand on heart tell you when it comes to divine timing. There is no such thing as "it's not the time yet." Divine timing doesn't refer to the calendar. It doesn't refer to the man-made time with minutes and hours and months and dates. Divine timing refers to the frequency, the energetic vibration you have embodied and you are operating on. And so this is why change doesn't have to take months and years. Change can happen just like that in an instant if you collapse timelines. And for that, you don't need months and years. And I am speaking from experience. It took me so many years to realize that. And the way I'm changing now is like that. Do you know why? Because I recognize and I acknowledge the self-sabotaging patterns every time they happen. So as I was recording this video, as I started recording this video a couple minutes ago, and I was thinking what I want to talk about and how I want to convey the message and what is the frequency I want to embody, there was nobody at home. And I started recording and I was somehow not happy with the beginning of the video. And then I started recording again and I felt like I'm in the flow, that the message was flowing. Next thing I know, I hear some noise and my brother opens the door. My brother doesn't live here and he wasn't supposed to be here today. And so this was not a sign from the universe or from God or the divine that I am not meant to record this video. This is a sign of my subconscious programming and patterns telling me we don't feel very comfortable right now because we're doing something that's outside of what we're used to. I'm very new to YouTube. This is a very new thing for me. And yet I've been wanting to do it for so many years. And so, do you see where I'm coming from? Every time when you do something that you don't feel ready for, your subconscious is going to sabotage you. How? You may fall ill just before a big audition. You may start to lose your voice. You may catch a cold just before you market or launch your program, your course, your, I don't know, your album. You may start to feel that you're not ready or that nobody's going to show up or nobody's going to come round. I've got many examples of when I tried to launch a project. It was something I wanted to talk on and teach that I was very passionate about. I created all the marketing, all the emails, I set the date, and when the time came for me to start promoting the event, I pulled back. I took everything down because I felt like I'm not ready for this. Maybe nobody's going to show up. Maybe I'm going to fail. Maybe even if people show up, they would just laugh at me and I would just be standing there like an idiot talking about things that nobody understands. So I gave in to my fear, to my old subconscious programming, despite all the work that I put in. And so I withdrew back. And then there was another attempt with something else that I wanted to launch. And as the time was coming and as I was working and building the whole project around, what happened was I fell ill. I physically fell ill, so I couldn't make it. And so that was yet again another sign of my old self trying to pull me back. Just a couple weeks ago, as I was filming a very honest and very raw and very vulnerable video, it's actually a video that I'm going to link. As I was filming and I was like probably half the way through, I wanted to check in the video and see what's been filmed so far. Surprise, surprise, the video wasn't filming no longer because my memory was full. Yet again, that was another sign of my subconscious trying to sabotage me because deep inside there is a fear that it's still anchored in who I am at the present. And I'm sure that this is something that you can relate to because we, even though have the desire to rise and have the desire to change and have the desire to be, we all have been there where our past self is trying to hold us and stop us back. Why? Because that is the familiar. That is the known. That is what you've always known. That is the vibration that you operate on. And so the very first step of overcoming your self-sabotaging patterns and tendencies is acknowledging them there and then as it happens. If you're still here, this is my message to you. Healing is not a one-day job. It doesn't happen overnight. But changing timelines and raising vibrations and getting into more elevated self of you happens in an instant. Just because you've overcome a challenge once doesn't mean you're ready. It means, however, that you have experience. And just because you have that experience, you feel readier for the next step. And there is going to be another obstacle, and there is going to be another obstacle after that. But guess what? You would have already experienced that, and you would have already built that awareness around how to recognize when your own self and your own body doesn't feel comfortable and doesn't feel that it's in the familiar. But that is exactly where growth happens. And I'm sure you know this. I'm sure I'm not telling you something that you've never heard before. Growth and expansion happens when you expand your horizon, when you expand yourself and your abilities to be and to feel and to exude that energy. Because guess what? You're here to take up as much space as you need on your healing journey. If there is one thing that you can take away from this video, let it be this. You don't need to spend hours and thousands of dollars in therapy and in coaching, session after session, going over how you're not loved and how you don't feel ready and how you have a fear of this or fear of that, or you're insecure doing this, insecure doing that. Just take your energy, center it in your body, in your container, and ask yourself, what do I really feel I want to do right now? Because that is a question that I asked myself many times when I was spiraling in overthinking, or when I was tapping into places where I wasn't sure I want to be in. I would pull back my energy and ask myself, do I feel I want to be here right now? Or do I feel like I want to do this right now? And so, if this is something that you recognize yourself in, and I believe if you're still here, you do, leave a comment down below. What is a pattern that you have recognized that you continue to go over that is preventing you from showing up and stepping up authentically? Because you and I, we both know that you're not here to play small. You're here with a big mission. And that mission is part of the whole universe. Because I believe that every single soul, every being is like a tiny piece of the puzzle. But without that piece, the puzzle can never be whole. And though yet we may sometimes feel small and insignificant in the whole vast universe, we are just as important. Because without you or without me, the puzzle is never going to be whole. So if this resonated with you, if it's something that you would gonna take on board, I would love to see you in the next video.